Hello everyone, thanks for listening. This is Jenny here to present the Cousara Project for the AI manager AI products. So to the project selection, is to build a supplier and product recommendation system to solve the problem of the manual vetting process. Actually, I presented this page during our last project course and the following describes why we consider this to be an opportunity. Jump straight to the tasks for this course. Perform a bit task analyze to describe the problem we have selected. The target user actually is our sourcing managers who need to source products from our suppliers. The problem statement is that as a retailer, we deal with thousands of suppliers every year on a very large number of products. There are lots of man hours invested in the process of supply vetting, including the capabilities, capacities, historical performance on sales, cost, quality, etc. Now the decisions are manually made based on the experience and limited data gathered manually and which really has large room to improve to increase the speed and accuracy of the decision making. So the key tasks for this product will be, as a sourcing manager, they will need to identify the best supplier for a new product. The basic flow as below, right? So first we define the trigger. The trigger will normally be a buyer or a merchant who will identify a need for new products. Say, hey, I need to source this new products, and they will pass these requirements to our sourcing managers. So our sourcing managers will start to look for existing suppliers in our database who can produce similar products. They are also looking to the overall market to see, hey, if there are any potential suppliers we can partner with. So based on the data research, they will be able to perform the vetting capability. They will vet those suppliers to say whether their past performance are good or if they have the potential to work with us because we really have a very large volume. And then after the vetting capability, they will come on a decision of who are the suppliers we want to work with, and which triggers next action is those suppliers will be invited to work with us and to fulfill our objective that a set of best suppliers are identified. So during this process, this flow will be see a key activity like the vetting activity is sourcing really needs to make the to do the activity and then make the decision based on large amount of information. Like they could potentially vet hundreds of or dozens of suppliers, right, to get the decision. So this is a part that our AI model will definitely help with. And then also I circled the box of supply invited to work with us. These are also a manual process. They need to send a manual invitation via email. This could be also be driven later by our recommendation system. Say, hey, if sourcing is accepting the recommendation, automatic invitation can be sent out to that supplier. Right? So when we come to the user experience design, like how our user will interact with a proposed solution, this is the high level assumption like this. So they will log into our platform and they can search by the keyword. For example, I want to search any suppliers who can make this product. And they can also have the advanced search, right? In, After the name, they might also want to say, hey, I want to look for suppliers for this product within this cost range, or some other criteria say, hey, I want to look for suppliers based on this region, etc., to narrow down the search results. And then the user will be represented with recommendations from on the screen, and the user will be able to adopt or either edit a recommendation. All the user behaviors and the changes that they made will be tracked, and the user feedback will be taken into account for the next rounds of optimization of our recommendation. Like how we define the user inputs, and the transparency and how we communicate uncertainty. So we have some tactics for that. So as a start, the platform we will learn from the previous results, right? Like how the user, when they do manually, how they decide what suppliers to invite based on their performance. So we have all those data sets as a initial recommendations, and then we will capture the inputs from users through like workshops or interviews to identify what are the key considerations or features, right, we can look into, and what will be the prioritization for that, or what's the weightage for that. For example, they may focus on the sales, they may focus on if they have a like a quality inspection capability, or they may focus on the capacity, they may focus on um, if they are able to meet certain compliance requirements, etc. So lots of features, and we will identify together with the users. And we will also capture the users' behavior when they work on our platform, like how like what are the actions, and if they make any modifications to our recommendation, etc. Transparency will make sure that user understand what we are collecting and the logic behind the model, the data source, etc., for us to generate that model. And we'll also let them know like the boundary and limitations of model. For example, our model cannot probably don't have the capability if we don't have sufficient data for a specific supplier, etc. Then communicating the uncertainty is that we what we can do is we can implement a confidence score for the model results for any recommendation. We can say, hey, we are 95% confident on this recommendation, etc., based on the historical data to give to set a right expectation for the user. Next is some privacy considerations, like what will be their privacy related concerns. We do because the analyze will be based on the large amount of supplier data. Suppliers will be really cautious and say, hey, how their company data get used. So we don't really actually collect the personal data except like email address. By email address, normally we collect is like a work address. And our model will also collect the associate information like associate ID, right? So we can know which associate do what kind of action on that. But there's no sensitive personal information like health and education, financial, etc. Those will not be connected and will not be needed in the model. So the laws, privacy laws, we will follow the general practice in file FIPs, and also will apply they're compliant to the US privacy laws and also the GDPR from the EU, because we store and process data from like EU supply companies in a lot of cases. Last piece is ethical considerations. What are some bias our model can anticipate when it's historic? Because the training data is really could possibly be already biased, because if our sourcing managers they have a preference, right? For example, we have 80% of our sourcing managers located in Asia. They may have a larger preference to the Asia suppliers because they are geographically closer, culturally more closer, etc. But we're trying to right keep that in mind that when we define the model that we consider the suppliers from all the regions fairly. Then representation bias, because not all the vetting activity happened online before. So many activities still happen offline, like sourcing just don't do that through any platform. They just doing that offline and email and confirm with supplier offline, etc. So those are not captured actually in the training data, which may make which that could be potentially a representation bias. Measurement bias as well, because there's so many dimensions we can look into to define if a supply is good enough. And we can, because of the limitation of the model, right, of our resources, we can only really select a few, a subset of the features. So that could be some kind of bias that some suppliers, if they are stronger at the elements that we're not connecting. How we will meet the three goals of fairness, accountability, and transparency? So fairness that our tactics that is to make sure we have sufficient user input covering with different product categories and different groups of suppliers from different countries, etc. Accountability is that our product and tech team could be majorly responsible for the performance of our product, and we work really closely with our user if they find any issues, etc. Transparency is we will definitely let the user know where we got the source data and cite the data source, etc. And also we'll provide sufficient training for them to understand the logic behind the model and what are the key features we use and what are the weightages, and we will be really open to discuss with them and make any modifications. Um, and also we will provide visibility on how their behavior data will be used. For example, if they added our recommendation, or if they reject or adopt our recommendation, those will be data will be used to improve the performance of the model. So those information will also be communicated with them. Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening.